Pulse Media is partnered with Paley Motorsports.
That's right. We are official marketing and news anchor for Paley Motorsports and Sam Paley. If you want to reach out to millions through motorsports, reach out to us today. We can get you in touch with Sam and get you on a race winning car. So why wait? Reach millions through motorsports with Paley Motorsports today. So with that being said, we got the man, Sam Paley, on our show today, Wyman. You can't really shortcut anything on that. Sam's finally going to be able to join us for a career interview. We've been trying to do this for a little while now. He's just been real busy, obviously, with the GT4 monochrome stuff that we know about and everything. So, obviously, finally got him on the show. It's going to be a fun interview. But let's say, let's go to a recap of last week, Daytona 500. Obviously, everyone saw the end of it.
I know all the Chase Elliott fans are probably quite disappointed.
That's honestly a heartbreaking situation, but like you say, coming off a turn four, leading the Daytona 500, you're gonna have to play some defense, and it's really hard to play defense. So, congrats to Tyler Reddick with a huge win for his career. Another thing that we can really point out, he's one of those ones that started out on the dirt stuff. He
Yeah,
was the World of Outlaws as a 12-year-old in World of Outlaws, winning races. Said that he
youngest
was
Lucas Oil winner.
right, and Lucas Oil winner. But I saw it today actually, that he said that he was not the greatest on asphalt whenever he was racing the dirt stuff. Well, clearly that's changed now. He's in NASCAR running the asphalt stuff, winning. So,
He's made it through all three levels,
right,
Truck, Cup, and Xfinity, and won in all three. So proof is in the
right.
pudding here. He can do it.
Obviously he's proved that he can do it, and there's many others that can do it. You look at, I'd just say, just for an example, Bobby Pierce. I don't know if he could come onto the asphalt, but I wouldn't count it out.
Yeah, I think give him a little time. I think he could get used to it.
Oh
We
yeah.
could probably see he could probably put some results together. The first race or two, I'd say, could be shaky, but look how many of these ARCA guys are coming up with dirt backgrounds, all dirt backgrounds,
Oh
and
yeah.
what they're doing. Like
Then you
Brennan
got
Queen is a
then
one
you got one
example.
that's a obvious YouTube background, Cletus. But like you say, obviously huge weekend with the Biffle tributes and everything and all that huge stuff, and then the 25th anniversary of Dale's passing, which is obviously a sad situation. But all in all, I mean, we have by the time this video comes up, it'll probably be time for to do an Atlanta recap. But we don't know who's going to win it, so we can't really do one of those. But we have our picks. I'd say, honestly, I think yes, Toyota and Chevy were dominant, but I really think a Ford team is gonna come out dominant. I'd like to see a Brad Keselowski win, especially with him coming back from his skiing accident. So we'll just have to see.
I feel so much for Carson Hocevar. He's been so close so many times, and when you're leading coming to the white flag, they say you're a sitting duck, and really he was. He got that big shove from a Chevy teammate, and it put him in the wall.
Right, and like you say, it's always you never know what's gonna happen. But for now, we'll just wait till Sam gets on, and we'll see y'all guys in a few
Man behind the
moments.
company.
Sam, we want to welcome you on the show and thank you for joining us today.
How's it going, boys? Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Um, so I guess we can kind of go ahead and get started. I don't really know. I feel like we've asked you this before, but what was your initial start getting you into racing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I'm a bit of an interesting case compared to a lot of the drivers I race against. No one in my family was into racing. No one in my family had ever raced before I got into it. Essentially, I was a big NASCAR fan when I was growing up, probably like circa 2005, 2006, 2007, when I was just a pretty young kid, just like 4 or 5 years old. Essentially, I begged my dad to take me to the go-kart track for like a couple of years. He finally did, and it was the worst mistake of his life because I was hooked from there. So, the first track I ever drove, I was 6 years old. It was in a kid kart at Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. John Wright owned it at the time. John Wright, the founder of Wright Motorsport, such
Oh
a
wow.
prominent team in IMSA with a lot of history. So he actually built that track in the early 2000s for some of his Porsche customers. My first time there was 2008. I started racing go-karts in 2009. Started racing regionally and nationally in 2010, I believe, in go-karts. Excuse me. And then in 2015, I went to Skip Barber Racing School. That was my first introduction to actually driving a car. I was 13 years old. Then I was actually the first ever car during an outside event at Pit Race, the extended full course. It used to just be a pretty short motorcycle track essentially, but they had a really cool facility there, man. It's a shame that it's getting torn down. That full course had a good 11-year run. So did the Skip Barber School there in the summer of 2015 with Kalen Frederick, who just ran GTP at Daytona 24 Hour. He's done Super Formula, FIA Formula 3. He's the British F3 champion from 2021, I believe, maybe a bit before that. And then also Michael D'Orlando, who's done some Indy Next and been so successful in American Junior Formula. So it was a pretty stacked course to say the least. We were all friends growing up. We grew up go-karting together and then did a couple Skip Barber races. My first pro race was Formula 4 US in 2017. Did a half season in 17, a half season in 18. Actually didn't race for a couple years. I was playing academy level soccer
Oh,
in
wow.
high school. And yeah, bit of a switch up from the racing stuff, but soccer and racing were my two main things growing up, and then was a little bit limited there on budget, so actually wasn't in the car for a couple of years, and then came back in 2020 with my good friend and mentor Jay Howard. We did a little bit more F4 stuff in 2020. Actually did our first MX5 Cup race at the end of 2020 and then made this full-time switch over to sports cars in 21, winning the MX5 Cup Rookie of the Year. Ran an MX5 Cup in 22, half of 23. Didn't run again for about a year in 23. Really started focusing on the business side of things, the coaching, the team management side, the other side of racing apart from being in the car, and then came back in 24 with the Mustang Challenge. And I'd say that was kind of my breakout season because that got me linked in with Ford Performance at the time, now Ford Racing, being a part of the Ford Performance Junior team, now the Ford Racing Driver Development team. That's been such a great opportunity for my career and really operated as a springboard. So obviously, last couple of years, it's been all with Ford Mustang Challenge and the GT4 stuff, and then going international in 26. So really looking forward to it.
That's pretty
Right.
cool how it all just went through. And so I started hearing about you in 24 during the Mustang Challenge season, and it was really cool that season. And then I saw you for the first time at Road Atlanta, and unfortunately, it was really going good till it didn't. But talk about, I think so many people know you for Ford, but what was like the F4 and MX5 Cup like for you as a driver, and then making the switch to now?
Yeah, I mean, the MX5 Cup is such a great series. I think a lot of what you develop as a driver is MX5 Cup specific, but it teaches you racecraft like no other platform in the entire world. I mean, I just looked at the St. Pete entry list literally 20 minutes ago, 42 cars.
Wow.
42 cars at St. Pete, 45 cars at Daytona. You never get a break in that series. So it really turns your mental focus, your mental acuteness to the max. You have to be a very quick decision maker. And I think it's a great starting point for drivers in terms of developing their sports car career. And it's just so much exposure. The two races at Daytona, one got over 200,000 views, the other one got high 100,000. So if you think about the budget to run in the series compared to the clicks, the eyeballs, and the views that it receives, it the exposure is unmatched. And I think that's always what I say about the MX5 Cup is you'll find no better exposure. So for me, when I was making the switch from open wheel into sports car racing, that was the perfect first step because that got me a lot of exposure. And honestly, I don't think I really built traction as a racing driver until I won Rookie of the Year in 2021. in the MX5 Cup. We got 5 podiums that year. We should have won a couple races. We were at the front in every single race. Um, you know, we finished P2 in our first race at Daytona, P2 at St. Pete. We were leading Mid Ohio. We lost Road America by 8/1000ths of a second. We were leading Road Atlanta, had a good comeback at Laguna. So running up front in that series gets you exposure. It gets you known in the IMSA paddock, which I think is the most important racing paddock in the world. Um, so that's such an important step, I think, for every driver coming from go-karting or even open wheel. The open wheel stuff, it's a great tool to have in your racing toolkit and your racing portfolio. I think um, it's a really important foundation to build. Everything moves a little bit quicker, so it really sharpens your skills as a driver. And I think it's great for learning the fundamentals. I love open wheel racing. I love Formula cars. The only problem is there's limited opportunity, right? There's 26, 27 cars in IndyCar, 22 cars in Formula One. I don't even count Formula E. I think that's a separate thing. I don't, unfortunately, I don't think many people aspire to be in Formula E. I think that's more of a backup option. You look at the drivers that are all XF1 or potentially F2 champions like Drugovich that couldn't get a seat in F1. So if you look at Formula car racing, you've got, say, 50 seats in the world, right? Look how many drivers are in the 24. 6 times 4, 240 this year. So I think all the opportunity is on the sports car side, but I think from a driver technique, fundamental and foundation standpoint, open wheel is a great starting point. Unfortunately, it's just not as sustainable in my opinion.
And who doesn't want to, when they're starting a career? That's everyone's dream. When I started mine in karts, that's what I wanted was F1. And that was at the time when Alonso was so dominant when he was with Ferrari and stuff. And that's what I wanted to do. But compared, apples to oranges here, the budget for open wheel racing is just way more expensive than cars. And I think if I knew what I knew now, I could have maybe made something more out of a karting beyond karting, I would say.
Yeah, and like Wyman said, I grew up with the dirt stuff. I was on the opposite end of y'all, but mine was mainly like you said earlier. You were the NASCAR advocate. That was me. So I wanted NASCAR, NASCAR, NASCAR. That was about all it. And then once I figured out that wasn't going to work with high school and everything, I was like, there's got to be something that I can do to stay involved with everything because my dad didn't race anymore, but I wanted to stay in it, and that's why we started the Speedway Pulse Media stuff. And I mean, you obviously see where it's at. I mean, we're all working together as a team now, so it's definitely paid off in that aspect. So, like you say, I honestly
Definitely.
wouldn't trade
It's a
it.
good looking background. I like it.
That's right.
But like I said, fast forward to now with you competing. Obviously, this year going to be in the GT4 Monochrome Australia stuff, but with like the Mustang Challenge Cup and all the Pilot Challenge and everything, how would you say that kind of would lay out compared to the GT4 monochrome stuff? And is it a good doorstep to come back to IMSA after racing that series?
Definitely. I think the Pilot Challenge is the most competitive GT4 series in the world. I'll get a lot of slack for that because a lot of people think it's European GT4, but in no other GT4 series in the world do you have factory level GT3 drivers like Robbie Foley, Daniel Morad, Billy Johnson, Bill Auberlin. I mean, Bill Auberlin and Robbie Foley are BMW factory drivers. Billy Johnson won Le Mans as a Ford Racing factory driver. Daniel Morad was a Mercedes factory driver. They're all running GT4. So I think that's something really cool. We always joke about when you make the jump to GT4, sure, you're in a GT4 car, but it's GT3 competition. So it's really, really stiff competition here in the US. And, the endurance aspect of the GT4 racing adds a whole nother element as a driver, as a team, as a complete package, which I think is so cool that the strategy's involved. But yeah, on the other end, I don't know if GT4 I mean I do know GT4 Australia isn't as popular in the US as of course it is in Australia, but that field's really really strong as well. You have um, a lot of supercar endurance drivers in the series like Cameron Crick running with Dean Cameron there. You also have guys like Zach Zutar, who's had a ton of experience in TCR. George Medecky's been around for a long time. He runs at the front of the field. So you've got a lot of guys with a ton of experience. You can't be above a silver and running the series, but the silvers are very, very strong. Jacob Hughes is another one, very, very strong driver, TA champion in that Mercedes last year with Summer. So you've got a really, really stout field, and a lot of tough competition down under there in Australia. And there's certain things they do as almost success penalties to make the racing a little bit more interesting. So I'm excited to get down there. I'm going to be the only American in the series to my knowledge. So I'll be racing with a lot of new competition, a lot of great drivers, and I'm excited to see, how I can stack up against those drivers. I think Le Mans was an experience like that, racing over in Europe, racing against guys like David Wall, Cameron McLeod, Nathan Van Springle, some of those international drivers for the first time, and I think we stacked up pretty well. So I always believe in myself as a driver, but I never come in overconfident or arrogant to the task at hand. It's definitely going to be tough, and I think it's going to be an exciting challenge.
Right, and
I
like you
think
say,
that's such a
go
big
ahead,
part
Juan.
of your career there. I think I saw it last season was just the belief in yourself. And, you know, 2025 went through some trials and tribulations, lost out on a lot of seat time in pilot challenge, but able to bounce back with your team and come back with core motorsports. But I think that's such a big part of whether it's racing or anything, just the belief in yourself that you know you're able to do the job and do it right.
Right, and then like you say, I mean, obviously you said you're gonna be, to your knowledge, the only American down there. Just don't. I'd say they might try to race you a little bit more harder because they know how we race over here with that rough driving style. So you might have to show them a little bit of technique skills too.
Ah, we'll be all good. I mean, you have to believe in yourself, right? That's step number one. If you don't believe in yourself, then you shouldn't be on the track, and you have to walk through this game of life having confidence in who you are, what you represent, and what you're capable of. So I've always been a confident driver. I know, I believe in myself. I think there's been a lot of trials and tribulations throughout my career where I've had to overcome a lot more, and I think my motto always is as a racing driver is do more with less, right? We might be on a tighter budget, we might be on a restricted program, maybe we can't go test, but that's not an excuse. We got to show up to the event and make it happen. No one cares about what happens behind the scenes. No one cares if you have 0 test days or 30 test days, right? So um, just got to show what you got there on race day. It's that simple.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm not a starstruck person either. It's like everyone we race against is a racing driver. We all have the same goals, but whether it's Sebastian Bourdais, Earl Bamber, Louis Delatraz, or Wayman or Houston, I'm gonna race everyone the same. So you can't have the googly eyes in the car.
and then I mean, like you say, obviously, like Wyman said, last year was a season for us, I guess you could say, with Paley Motorsports and everything, and then the Michelin Pilot stuff and all that. Kind of recap what that year was like. I mean, I know we were on the car in Le Mans, and that was fun and everything. Like, we loved that. We'd totally do it again. But I know we had been mentioned to that it was only a one-time thing by No Acre. But kind of recap your year last year with mainly the Le Mans stuff and everything that went on.
Yeah, so first 4 races of the year, we competed in the Pilot Challenge with McCumbee McAleer Racing with my good friend Jensen Altzman. And, I really think it was the 13 cars year for the championship. I think they got a little bit unlucky. There's a situation at Indy that was just unlucky. I don't think it was anyone's fault. And then obviously Atlanta, they got unlucky too. And then there was another incident there in the pits at VIR, um, to finish out the season, last 3 events, right? And if those incidents don't happen, they win the championship. It's that simple. So it was cool to be a part of that program. Joe Cowart, Jonathan Braswell, Chad McCumbee, Matt Sinkoff, Trey Babson, all those guys are very, very professional. They know what they're doing. Jensen's a great driver. I have nothing but good things to say about that program. Unfortunately, just as racing goes, had some budget constraints and restrictions. So started getting creative with our partners and everyone that we work with at the track. So we were able to make Le Mans happen. My car looked like Chick Hicks with all the miscellaneous sponsors, but I liked it. I think it made the story a little bit better. That was such a challenging week because I came straight from Mid-Ohio. Flight got delayed, train got delayed. I hadn't slept in 2 days.
Wow.
To talk about some of the back end stuff, it was just me and my good friend Rick Reynolds. We didn't even have really a team at the time. Like we just didn't have the budget to bring in any of our guys. It's obviously expensive to go to Europe, right? And it was a week-long event, $1,000 flight. So unfortunately, it wasn't in the budget to bring our great mechanics at Paley Motorsports. So it was just me and Rick running the program. And I was coaching three other drivers as well. So, up every single night until 1:30 in the morning, getting back to the chateau that Nick Smither so kindly booked for us each and every night. That was like a 35, 40-minute drive. So I probably got total of 8 hours of sleep that entire weekend. But or week, sorry, because it was Monday through Friday. Um, that's just one of those experiences in life and in racing and in your career you'll always look back upon. And I think it was so cool how we made it happen. A little bit untraditional, but we got there. We raced at Le Mans and we got 2 podiums, right? You can always look back and talk about little things you wish were a bit different, but it's not the way it turned out, right? You can't be a Monday morning quarterback. You just have to look forward. But that was a great experience. And then that was it. That was all I had. So we were looking to get creative. Ended up putting together that Mustang Challenge program at the end of the year, and then unfortunately had the brake failure at Road America. So that threw a bit of a wrench in our plans. Matt Bigelow, Rick Reynolds, Garrett Lapp, myself, Steve Esposito, we tore down and rebuilt the car with picking up the body in white and everything in about 6 or 7 business days, which has to be the fastest anyone's ever done it. We actually went to VIR in the middle of tearing down and rebuilding the car with Core, myself and Nick Piercing and Dean Martin putting the program together with myself and some of our guys at Paley Motorsport and finishing P2 at VIR. That was the best achievement in my career, in my opinion, because like you said, bit of an up and down ride throughout the season, and to bounce back like that and let everyone know, we haven't gone anywhere. We're still right here. And that was a messy race. We got boxed in the pits. It was Nick Piercing's first ever GT4 race, no testing. I think I was 24th in practice. On Friday, we were nowhere, like literally not even in the zip code. And then we finished P2, 6 tenths behind Jan Halen there in the lead, and he was definitely the car to beat. So I think he honestly could have beat us by a little bit more if he wanted to. So that was a great achievement. And then, strong results, finishing out the year in challenge, five consecutive P2s. And then Road Atlanta was a tough race. It's just one of those where it didn't go our way. But I was really proud of the challenges we were able to overcome with the Paley Motorsport crew, both on the Mustang Challenge side, because it was definitely a budget restricted program, on the GT4 side, because we integrated two or three of our guys there. And Nick was going through some challenges there as well. Not testing, never being in the car apart from the weekend, and obviously IMSA weekends are so tight and so quick. So last year was just it was so busy, it was so difficult, but looking back on it, it was very rewarding, and I'm proud of all that we achieved.
Right. And like you say, obviously it was a huge year for us as well. Obviously, we had in our 5 year plan to be on the car at Le Mans, and we did it in a year and a half. So we definitely blew out the order. I don't really know what to set the next plan to, but I mean, I'm sure you'll be a part of it, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a cool experience having you guys on. Um, I always like to support people that have good motivations when I can. Every guy we hire from Paley Motorsport is hired based on motivation, not on skill. Our guys are all very skillful. They're fantastic mechanics and they know what they're doing at the track, but each and every single one of our mechanics that's working on our customer cars or my own car was hired because they had the motivation to do it, right? We can teach someone a skill. You can't teach someone the motivation to want to be at the track and to want to be successful. And racing, as you guys know, is a difficult and grueling sport. I think it offers refuge in a different life path than your typical 9 to 5, right? Your typical corporate America job or your typical street mechanic, street auto shop job. But, in your street auto shop job, you're not working 16-hour days. So you have to want to be there. You have to want to do something special. And that's, that should be rewarded. And, I'm not successful by any means, but when I see two guys like you two, working to try and make it happen. I like doing cool stuff. It's really just that simple.
We got some cool stuff coming up. We talked about
Yeah, yeah. I think 16, what day is it today? We got 16 days, I think, until we ship off. I always forget how short February is, and then all of a sudden you're in March and you're well into the year. So
here 3 months in, and but I think last year was really a fulfilling year for you. You saw how great your team worked as a whole, team from the standpoint that you went through the trials and you were able to bounce back. You went to Lamar, and then we found out about Watkins Glen, and then it was kind of a lot of waiting game just to see what can happen, and then unfortunately the pilot challenge stuff didn't come back till a little later, but Road America, even with the brake failure, it was still a strong show, and you were up at the front. In race two, you made it happen. Fast forward to VIR podium, Coda and the Roval were all podium finishes there, so it had to be real fulfilling for you as the main guy on the team, and see what you were able to put together, what the whole team was able to put together.
yeah, it's cool. I try and remove emotions from it. I'm just in the car and I'm going to believe in myself and I'm going to do my job. Like I said, I know what I'm capable of. Um, it really comes down to like I mentioned, having the motivation across the board, not just from one specific individual. Everyone that's a part of the team has to share a common goal, has to share that consistent motivation, and anything's possible. I think it's pretty cool what we achieved. I think we're completely capable of what we achieved. Bit disappointing for me, to be honest, to not get a win. That part really sucked. I didn't win a single race in 2025. I think I literally got like 10 second places. So I would say, although we had a good year, it could have been better, right? It can always be better, but just not being complacent, right? Okay, we got 2 podiums at Coda. Well, let's go get podiums at the Roval, right? We got a podium at VIR and Pilot Challenge. Next race, doesn't matter what you did last race, right? We got to focus on the weekend ahead. So it's rewarding to look back on. It's great memories. It's very satisfying. But you got to keep moving forward. You got to tackle the next challenge, and that's the mindset.
You can't think of any better mindset to have going forward. It's just, you know, you can't control what, once the past happens, it's the past. There's nothing you can change about it. You can only go forward.
Definitely control the things you can control, and the only thing you can do in life, no matter what happens, is just stay hard. That's it.
That's right.
Right. And I mean, like you say, obviously you showed your excitement for next season or this coming season with the GT4 monochrome stuff and all that down in Australia. But I mean, obviously you might not be able to comment on it yet if there is anything, but is there any American racing series plans as for now, or is it
I
just
would love to race in the US. I'm working to put some stuff together. Um, I mean, racing in the US is just awesome. It's my home. I'm an American, true and true. I carry the American flag on my helmet. We look at the backgrounds on this Zoom call. It's white, blue, and red. I'm not trying to be anything else. I'm not. I'm going to go down to Australia and be the American driver. So I always want to race in the US. And last year I didn't think I was going to race Mustang Challenge at all, and we got what 7 podiums and did 4 events. So anything's possible, right? When I stopped racing in Pilot Challenge, I didn't think we'd race Pilot Challenge again in 2025. So just have to keep the big picture in mind, stay focused each and every day, and continue to put yourself in positions to be successful and to get opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
Right. The season's fast approaching for Australia. What's been kind of the preparation like for that, and maybe how the deal came together some? I know that there's a lot of preparation goes into going to Australia. This will be new tracks for you.
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity. I'm really excited to join Jack Wallace and Wallace Motorsport this year. I think Jack is a very talented up and coming Australian driver. This is going to be his first full season in the series. I'm excited for him to have a little bit of consistency. Jensen went over there for a race with him, and I know he got a lot of great knowledge from Jensen. Jensen's a great driver coach, and then he raced with his dad, he raced with his uncle. So I think it'll be good for him to have a consistent teammate throughout the year. And, the Wallace Motorsport guys, I'm really excited to link up with them, try and provide any expertise, knowledge, and value that I have on my car. Or sorry, on the Mustang GT4 car. But preparation wise, I mean, I've been working hard. This is definitely the hardest I've ever prepared for a racing season. Obviously I stay busy with the Paley Motorsport stuff, but and the driver coaching, but every day I'm home, we're lifting in the morning, we're running at night, we're doing longer runs each and every day. We're going harder in the gym each and every day. We're getting the body right, we're getting the mind right. I'm on the sim every single day, trying to learn these tracks, studying the video, the racecraft, the drivers from all the live streams and the broadcast last year to really understand who I'm racing with, because that's the big thing. When I driver coach my MX5 Cup drivers, I always say, I don't care if this is your first race, I don't care if this is your fourth season. It's your responsibility, not mine, not the team's, to know who you're racing against, right? Because everyone races a little bit differently. Um, and in Mustang Challenge, I feel like that was one of my strengths. At the Roval, I started eighth in race one, and I'm P2 by lap two or lap three. I just know who I'm racing against, right? I know their strengths and weaknesses. So I've literally never raced with anyone in the series. So trying to watch and understand what my competitors' strengths and weaknesses will be. So I'm just best prepared to be in any sort of situation racing against them. So been really taking the preparation stuff seriously, physically, mentally, on the sim, learning the tracks. And, we've got so many great tools here at Ford Racing to really help with that. And it's been fun. It's been cool. It's been cool to have a focused off season that's actually a little bit prolonged, because the one thing no one talks about with IMSA, NASCAR, maybe even F1, IndyCar is not like this, but the off season's so short. It's 2 months long. Um, and I don't really count. Thanksgiving to New Year's is just a wash. Like you can get stuff done, but I feel like people are traveling. Obviously, Christmas, you're with family. New Year's, people normally have plans, right? So you literally have a 2 month off season and you lose 50% of it. So it's so tight and compressed in IMSA. Everything happens so fast. You truly don't get an opportunity to 100% reset. And I feel like I've had the opportunity this off season, not starting until March, right? So been able to reset, really reestablish my goals for the year and focus on making them happen.
Right, and I mean, like you say, obviously we want to thank you for coming on and sharing everything about your story and all that and all your career stuff. So with that being said, we want to wish you good luck this year, and obviously we're going to have some late nights over here in the U.S. because we're going to be staying up watching all of it. But we'll definitely be here. But just holler at us if you need anything. You know the drill. But yeah, for sure.
Thanks, boys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you having me on. I love the background. Let's keep the background. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we will for sure be doing that. But yeah, we want to thank you again for coming on, Sam.
Yeah,
Absolutely
thanks,
appreciate
boys.
it.
Likewise.
We'll catch you in Sebring.
Oh, yeah.